Okay, for today we're trying to learn how to do application problems, and I want to get right to it. So here is some review, and this is just how do you simplify this puppy. Everybody right now, would you start with trying to simplify this? Hopefully you're good at this part. This should be your happy place. All right. 3 goes into everything. 3 goes in there twice, 3 goes in there once, and there once. Final answer, 2 plus and minus root 5. Raise your hand if you had that right. Okay, good. Now, I want to try another kind of problem with you that's not on your smartboard, but I know it's important. Okay, so if we go x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, what is that good for? What does it give you? Does not give you the vertex. Thank you for trying. The x-intercepts, also known as the roots, also known as zeros, also known as solutions. Okay, so this is really handy for finding those x-intercepts. Again, if we were graphing it, it might look like that, and it gives you these two answers, the x-intercepts. That's what the quadratic formula is good for. The x-intercepts, the solutions, the roots. All right. Well, what if I told you that the answer came out to this? But I don't tell you what A, B, and C were. And I ask you, what was the original equation that created this answer? It's really not that hard. Can you tell if this 4 matches up with this 2a? What did A have to be? A would have had to be 2. You get that? Because 2 times 2 would have made it 4. So I'd make it like a little problem and say, let me see if I can slide this down a little further and say, okay, well, I know this quadratic formula. I know that this is 2a. So 4 equals 2a. So what's a got to equal? A must equal 2. I know this part of the quadratic formula. What's this part of the quadratic formula? B. B equals, no way, it's not negative. It's negative b. Negative b equals 6. So what's b equal to? B equals negative 6. Now I've got b is negative 6. I got a is 2. Now what? Sure. Wait, don't make it so complicated. What's this part right here? It's what formula? Not the vertex, the discriminant, and you already know the formula. You were saying it. You were just using numbers. That's b squared minus 4ac. And we know what b is, and we know what a is. Find c. I'll tell you, it's going to be a fraction. So use your calculator. No, not your calculator, sorry. Calculate this out with your iPad. So this is the part we're solving right there. So you should have said 40 equals b squared minus 4ac, and then you just put in what you know. You know b, it's right there. B's negative 6. Minus 4 times a times c. Notice me putting in parentheses for those things. I don't know. A is 2. I can drop it in right there. And c is still c. I don't know c yet. So hopefully you said 40 equals 36 minus 8c. Mr. T, what do you do now? Good. 4 equals negative 8c. That's a weird looking c. There we go. And then, final answer? Negative 1/2. Raise your hand if you got that right. Okay, good. All right. Enough of that for now. Simplify this one. All right, did you say 7 goes in here once, 3 times, and once? 1 plus or minus 3 root 3? Do you agree? Okay, awesome. Now I'm going to tell you, if you had a calculator, you'd be able to figure out that square root of 3 was 1.73. Let's just make it 1.7 to make it even easier. That is 1.7. You have to use your brain to do this. You can multiply 3 times 1.7. Okay, go off to the side of your paper, figure it out, it's a decimal. Then give me a final answer. There's 2 answers, one with plus, one with minus. In case you've forgotten how to multiply, 1.7 times 3. 7 times 3 is 21. 1 times 3 is 3 plus 2 is 5. And then it's not 51, of course. 5.1. So 1 plus 5.1. How many were able to do the 5.1 without me? Okay, good. 1 plus 5.1, 6.1. Over here, 1 minus 5.1 is negative. This is a little trickier. Negative 4.1. There's your 2 answers. If they ask for decimal form, that's what you do. All right, let's move on. Simplify the following. Yeah, we've done enough of these. You square root of 32, you go root 16 and root 2, which would be 4 root 2. And after that, this, and this cancel. So just for the people that haven't done as much practice as we have, 4 goes in here once, 4 goes in here once, 4 goes in there twice. The really common answer is people think that 4 cancels and it's just gone. But you guys know it's 1 plus and minus square root of 2 all over 2. And if they asked for it with a decimal, you'd have to have a calculator, and you'd go square root of 2 is 1.4 about, and then you do it once with plus and once with minus. All right, the common mistake here is if people are using the calculator, they forget to put these parentheses in. There's imaginary, or not, imaginary is not the right word. There's invisible parentheses right there. They need to be there. Otherwise, if you type it into the calculator without those, it's just going to take that divided by 2 instead of the whole thing divided by 2. All right, moving on. Not going to do the challenge questions right now. I'd rather stick to talking about applications for a minute. All right, this is important that you process this. Yes? That's a good question. If we ask you to find square roots like that, we'd have to give you a calculator. I don't think we're going to, though, so I don't think we're going to have decimal answers, but or we could just give you the decimal, one or the other. Okay, next up, if you are trying to find the maximum height, it says that right here on the slide, but what is that math-wise on that parabola? The vertex. Everybody please write that next to max height. To help you remember, that's the math word for that. This, if they've given you a time, like this, like where is the ball at time 3 seconds? Then they have given you a time, and time's down here, and that means they have given you an x value. So they'll have given you like x equals 3 or something. You just stick 3 in the equation. Okay, last kind is when it hits the ground. Notice it doesn't say where it hits the ground. It's when it hits the ground. Because this seems like it's how far, you know, like from here to here. That is not what we find when we get that spot. What we find is time, because remember, time is down here. This is time. Okay, so that cannonball could have been shot straight up in the air, which would be really stupid for the person shooting the cannon, but if they wanted to, they could shoot straight up in the air and the equation would be the same. So this is not a distance, it's a time. So when you hit this spot, you are doing the roots, the zeros, the x-intercepts. You see how that's the x-intercept? If you just take away the whole thing and just make it a picture, like a math graph picture, it's that spot right there. It's called the x-intercepts, right? Now, these two things are really important. The x-intercept is where what? Y equals 0. So as soon as you want this spot, you set y equals 0 in the equation. And the equation will look like this. That kind of thing. And if you want this spot, you'd set y equal to 0. So I'd put a 0 right here. And that means it's ready to solve with a quadratic formula, or graphing it and seeing, you know, like use a graphing calculator and find this spot with the like trace feature. Or you could find this by factoring this. But this does not look like it'd factor nice. So I'd be thinking either the quadratic formula or graphing it on the calculator. But I don't think we're going to use, well, actually on the next part we are. This test we're taking this Wednesday won't allow calculators, I'm like 85% sure. But the one we take after that is lots more of this stuff. So this is just your introduction to doing application problems like this. All right, so now I want to run you through some more general stuff you're supposed to already know how to do. This is a review day, kinda. Tomorrow's the official review day, and then the test is Wednesday, right? And see if you remember how to complete the square. And why are we completing the square? You complete the square for the vertex. All right, try this one, please. X squared plus 10x minus 10. Find the vertex for me for that. I'll pause while you try that. All right, so if I ask you for the vertex, I want to make a list for you of, if I ask for the vertex, you have to do what? See, you already don't know. If I ask for the vertex, you should do what process that we just did 2 seconds ago? Complete the square. Because see, on the test, the hard part, you'll have known how to do everything, but you're not going to you're going to go, I don't know what to do on this question. Because all they're going to say is, find the vertex. Hopefully you'll remember that vertex goes with complete the square. Okay, next thing that they can ask you is, how many solutions does it have? Which of those little things told us how many solutions it would have? They didn't tell us the solutions, but they told us there was either 2 solutions or 1 solution or no solutions at all. What was that thing called? Discriminant. You might want to write these down. At least take notes on it. Make abbreviations. If you don't know how to spell discriminant, you can abbreviate it like that. Discrim. So if they ask for how many solutions, you're doing the discriminant. What if they're asking if it's a min or a max? If they're trying to find the min or the max, if you knew the vertex, would you know for sure if it was a min or a max? What if I tell you the vertex is 2, 4? Do you automatically know if it's a min or a max? No. So finding the vertex here would not be helpful. How will you tell if it's a min or a max? Basically, really you're asking, is it this way or is it that way, right? How do you tell if it's this way kind of parabola or that way kind of parabola? Yes?
In vertex form, there's a negative in front of it.
Yep, look for neg in front. What if there's a negative in front? That means it's upside down and it's a mountain shape. And then you've got a what? A maximum. Good. What if it's like a valley? Then you've got a minimum. So if I give you one, here's one. I'm not asking you for the y-intercept. I'm just asking you here for, I'm not asking for the vertex. I'm just asking, would the vertex be a minimum or a maximum spot? Yep, because this negative means I got this kind of a parabola, an upside down parabola. It's been flipped because of that negative. So I know it's got a maximum. Now, isn't that kind of counterintuitive that seeing a negative means that you have a maximum? All right, but you need to think it through this way. Normal parabolas go like this. That's got a negative, so it goes like that. So it's got a maximum point. And you should use words like reflection. There was a reflection. Instead of flip, you should say the word reflection. All right. So now, what if I gave you another one of those problems where you had this answer came from somewhere, some equation gave you that answer. So tell me, what's the easiest thing to find right away to get the equation for it? A works. Everybody find A right now. Turn your iPad my way. Let me see if you learned that from earlier this hour. A is, oh, it looked like A is B. Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. What's A? All I'm asking is for A right now. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, good. Everybody's getting it right. A is 6 because this must be 2A, so A is 6. Good. What's B? And don't say 10. B's not 10. B's what? Negative 10. Good. And then if A is 10 and B is, sorry, A is 6 and B is negative 10, then how do I do this? Wait a minute. There's a 2 out there. Figure it out. You can do this. It's not that hard. If there's a 2 out there, there must have been a bigger square root in the first place. Figure it out. You can do this. Okay, so what was the square root in the first place then? Yes. So really, the square root of 4 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. This number is really a 4. What was the square root in the first place then? Square root of 16. So then you know what's equal to 16? B what? B squared minus what? Minus 4AC is equal to 16. And I know B is negative 10. So it's 100. Minus 4 times, I know A from right here. A is 6 times C. And now I go 100 minus 24. C equals 16. And then you subtract 100 from both sides, divide by negative 24. It's going to be some nasty decimal. But your final answer, if you did it right, was negative 84. I guess it was a negative, and then you divide by a negative, so it's going to be positive 84/24. And that probably, I know it reduces, but I'm going to stop there, but you get the idea. Okay? All right, next question. If I have this equation, how many answers does it have? Remember what we're supposed to look for if I say how many answers does it have? Now, technically, you could solve it, find out what the two answers are, but that's a lot of work. Instead of doing that, who knows what to do? Come on, I'm glad you know, and it's awesome, but does anybody else know? What are we supposed to do to find out how many solutions something has? Yes, ma'am. Discriminant, which is what? Close, just b squared minus 4ac. All right. Everybody do that quick. Find b squared minus 4ac. Wait a minute, b is 0. That makes it even easier, doesn't it? 0 squared minus 4 times negative 1 times 3. Final answer, 0 plus, because there's two negatives, 12. 12. Yay, the answer is 12. So I have 12 solutions, right? No. The answer is 12, so that just means that I have a positive number underneath the square root, so I'm going to have how many solutions? 2 solutions. Good. 2 soln. It's an abbreviation for solutions you see a lot. 2 solutions. All right. What if it had come out to be 0? I do a b squared minus 4ac, and all I know, I don't even know what the answer, like how they got there, but I know the answer is 0. What does that tell me then? There's one solution, and it is the vertex. Good. You don't have to know that, but I like it that you know that. If there's only one solution, think about it. It must be touching like this, right? So that one solution is the vertex. If there's only one root, then it must be just touching once. And so therefore, it's the vertex. All right. And if your discriminant comes out to a negative number, negative 16 or whatever, no solutions, because you have a square root of a negative. Because remember, this discriminant thing is in the middle of the b, negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That b squared minus 4ac can't be negative, or you won't have any answers. All right, so I don't think this test should be that hard for you, as long as you know when they ask how many solutions, you know, oh, that's discriminant. If they say, what's the highest the ball ever went? What's that? Vertex. And if it's the vertex, how do you find vertex? Complete the square. So if you haven't taken notes on that, it'll be your fault for not taking good notes, whether or not you knew what to do. All right. If you want the x-intercepts, you set what? Repeat after me. The x-intercepts are where y equals 0. The x-intercepts are where? Y equals 0. Okay, the x-intercepts is one thing. How about the y-intercepts? That's where x equals 0. Okay? So those will help you a lot too. So if you're making that list like I started making for you, min or max, you look for the negative in front. If you want the x-int, you set y equal to 0. If you want the y-int, you set x equal to 0. If you want, what if you want the roots? Those are these spots. How do you find those? They are the x-intercepts, so you set what? Y equal to 0. And if I set y equal to 0 and I have my equation now as this, can I factor it? Yeah, I could factor it and solve it that way. What if it won't factor? Quadratic formula. All right, I know your brains are pretty much toast by now, but we need to cover a lot of stuff, and now that way it'll give us a chance to talk more about it tomorrow, and you should be like rock stars for the test on Wednesday then. Okay, so let's do the homework or get started together. It looks like neither of those two. It looks like, what does it say on it? I'm going to pause for a second while I try to find the homework. Okay, found it. It's called Higher Algebra 7.4C worksheet. And I told kids last hour they could skip the first problem and the last problem on this worksheet. So we're going to jump right to number 2. There we go. Okay, maybe I can move this over just a little bit so people at home can see this. Scroll this up to number 2. Okay. How am I supposed to solve one of these things? If you can factor it, that's the easy way. Does this one factor? Yeah, it actually does. Therefore, do you have to do the quadratic formula? Well, it depends. Depends on what the problem says. Does it say here, use the quadratic formula or factoring? Okay. So I can use factoring on number 2. Awesome. Let's do factoring. Negative 2 comes out. And I have x squared minus, let me think, 2 goes in a 4 times, so it'd be minus 4x. And then negative 2 comes out of that. Technically, I'm dividing by negative 2, so that's negative 6. There we go. Equals 0. And then it factors again, I hope. X and x, and then does somebody have it yet? All right, try to find something that multiplies to 6, negative 6, and adds to negative 4. 6 times 1 is, and then 6 and 1 don't make a 4. 2 times 3 makes 6, and, oh crap, that didn't work, did it? Can't factor it. Okay, but it's worth a try, and it's good to know that, for you to know that that's actually the easier way to do it than the quadratic formula. Because if it factors, oh, if this had been like plus 2 and minus 3 or something, but that doesn't give you a middle term of negative 4. If it had been that, the answers are so easy. They're 3 and negative 2. But it didn't work. Boo. So now I have to use the quadratic formula. So it's x equals negative b, which is negative 8, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which would be 64, minus 4 times a times c. I always make parentheses for those because that's the most important goofed up part right there. A is negative 2 and c is 12 all over 2a, which is 2 times negative 2. Okay, from there I just have to be really careful underneath that root. Any monkey can multiply 2 times negative 2. But all of that, very likely to get messed up, so I'm going to watch it close. Negative 8 plus or minus, and I'm going to put it all over negative 4. Otherwise I'll prove my monkey statement wrong. And now I'm going to go to square root of 64 minus 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 12 is 80. 8 times 2 is 16. 96. Did you get 96? Good. And then there's 2 negatives in it, so that makes it plus. That's what people usually mess up right there. They don't look for the 2 negatives. So that's plus 96. So that makes 160 underneath the square root. So it's negative 8 plus and minus the square root of 160 all over negative 4. And can I just cancel this 8 and this 4? No, you can't. Because you'd need to have something in here. Wait a minute. I see I can break that up. Square root of 160. I better not leave it like this or I'll get it marked wrong because it's not reduced all the way. So the square root of 160 is root 16 and root 10. Do you see that? So then it's really 4 root 10. So the top part right there is all 4 root 10. That should be up here. Now I go, 4 goes in here twice, 4 goes in here once, and 4 goes in there once. And the final answer, I'm bleeding down into the next problem here, is negative 2 plus or minus root 10. I could have put 1 root 10, but that's kind of lame. Don't need the 1. All over negative 1. Now, dividing by negative 1 technically just changes the signs on everything else. So I can, if I want to, that's a pretty good answer. But if I divide by negative 1 on here and here, I'd get positive 2 plus and minus a minus root 10 which seems kind of ridiculous because plus minus minus is the same as plus minus. Okay, so that's where this test can get hairy, is there's just so many little things. Like, did you know that plus minus a minus is the exact same thing as plus minus? If you think about it, you want one of it and you want the opposite of it. So it doesn't matter if I make it the opposite of that. I'm already doing the positive of it and the negative of it, and if I make it the opposite of that, it's still the positive and the negative of it. So you don't want that extra negative in there. Yes, sir. I can't promise you that. That's why I wanted to show you this, because isn't that a lot simpler? And I don't know if we're going to have a full 10% off for not reducing that all the way, or if that would only be 5% off for not reducing all the way. But you are supposed to simplify as much as you can. So all I did when I divide by -1 is I changed that sign and I changed that sign, but hopefully you know that plus or minus doesn't need another minus. It's still plus and minus. Okay. That mostly was ugly because it was so much simplifying to do. Then it says decimal form. Now, if we allow you to use a calculator on the test, all you'd have to do is figure out what the square root of 10 is, and then do 2 plus it, and then do 2 minus the square root of 10. I'm thinking the square root of 10 is probably like 3.2 or something like that. So you just go 2 plus 3.2, and then you go 2 minus 3.2 to get your 2 decimal answers. Okay, that was hard stuff. Yes? Let me check for you to be for sure on whether you can use calculators in this next test. I don't think you can. And if we don't have that, then we won't have decimal form on the test. So I'm going to check. But if you're going to be forced to do decimal form, we're going to give you a calculator. Okay? All right. That's all I have for the homework for today. Remember, you got a whole nother day tomorrow to get smarter before we take the test on Wednesday.